Well, thank you for joining us after hours. This is Robert Krug, your host at Voluntary Virtues After Hours with the Krug. I am joined by a wonderful collection of voluntary virtues um, participants. We have Cody Limbaugh, wonderful guest, wonderful person, wonderful host. Love to meet him in person. Maybe he'll make it all the way down to our wonderful experience going to go on in Arizona. What's it called? No, not Port.
Jackalope.
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 Yeah, and then,
August 1st, 2nd, 3rd. I
yeah,
might have to start a crowdsourcing fund for that or something.
yeah, and then we've got the ever absent Daniel Rothschild, who is apparently very popular in the little chat thing that was going on there. Kyron, of course. Wonderful to see you here, and it looks like you fixed your communication issues. Your stream looks to be coming in pretty darn solid. And Marky sneaking in the background. So, what did we talk about today? Geez, crazy shit, huh? Um, where do you guys want to start? I mean, did we
I
cover
would
everything?
I would want to start at the end of the fucking Silk Road open letter. That shit was the realest shit I think anyone has ever wrote. Tupac would be proud as fuck. Like, amazing. Amazing. I mean, he went in on the entire system as a whole, and it's just pure anarcho-capitalism. Hey, look, with this technology shit we got nowadays, there's no reason why we need to be having risky ass face-to-face interactions over drugs. Like, let's bring drug dealing, let's bring this industry into the new age. They're not going to allow us to do it in a way that's safe. We're going to create the way that's safe. And yeah, shit's amazing.
Yeah, that letter was motivating. That's why I was like in the chat, kind of get a hallelujah, because I just wanted to stand up and be like, yeah, that was awesome. What I loved about his letter too is he's really illustrating how we can move forward with a peaceful society largely due to where we are in history. Technology is beginning to allow things. When people, when I talk to, for instance, a libertarian with the big L, like you say, Robert, they're minarchists because they believe that that's pragmatism, that a small state is more realistic than ever being able to have a truly free anarchist society. And he's just illustrating it right there how technology is changing that, and we cannot take for granted that we're living in a transitional period. And I just think it's awesome that the tools that the state would like to use against us are the very tools that we are able to use to circumvent the state and live outside of the state. And this kind of also circles back around to a topic that we've talked about in multiple shows, which is creating a stateless society. Well, we are creating a stateless society. It's online. It's right now. We have a stateless society, and the Silk Road is an example of that.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
It is amazing. And, the thing that's really powerful about the Silk Road is that it's creating a system that makes it easy. And I tried doing this crap with it, and I mean, it's not easy enough. We're going to have to work on it. We got to make it easier than hell to use. We have to make it so that you click on your iPod or your Android phone, you can go, look, I want to go ahead and buy myself 20 ounces of high grade.
Absolutely.
Right.
The Silk Road. Yeah, the Tor network and Bitcoin, both of them exclusively, really need to lower the entry bar as far as your technology IQ. I mean, yeah, it is very difficult. And I mean, I own some Bitcoin, but I had to go through shit to get it, and it is not easy. And when we can lower those barriers to entry to truly secure exchange and freedom of exchange, oh man, we're gonna see things get huge. If there was an app for that, if you could get on Tor on your iPhone by downloading a simple app or something, we would see Silk Road blow up.
Just so you know, CG2N, we are here. Are available to be conversed with. So if you want to go ahead and type on in there, we will converse with you. You just go ahead and let us know what it is that you would like to talk about, and we will talk about it. So, one of the things that I thought was kind of, oh, damn it, I can't talk about this without Roth. Frickin' absentee Roth getting himself food or something. I don't know what the hell. Maybe he's pinching a loaf. I don't know. But, all right, so let's stay on the same topic, I guess. The thing that's important to me is that the free market needs competition. And quite frankly, the idea that Silk Road and Bitcoin don't have sufficient competition to really promote innovation is a little bothersome. I think we need to have, I don't know, Lace Road and Leather Road and whatever the hell else road do you want to have so that you can pass the spice, whatever it is that you're interested in their method and make it competitive and actually create these innovations that we need to see so that it'll push these people to either lower their profit margins or to improve the product and the service that they're providing. And quite frankly, every time I've been on Silk Road to look into the prices for LSD, for example, it's been atrociously, ridiculously priced. So obviously I can't buy any. I love LSD, it's freaking great, but I ain't had it in, 14 years. So I'm...
Is that the statute on that? Is that why you've 14 years?
Yeah, you caught me. You caught me. Statute of limitations been run out.
So
you know why you've had such a hard time getting LSD is because they found the guy who was making up most of the LSD, who was in Canada. This motherfucker was making, the most pure, amazing LSD ever, and he made tons of that shit. And they shut him down. They found him and shut his shit down.
Well, maybe we can freak him out or something. Jeez.
Yeah, that motherfuckers ain't coming out. I'm pretty sure they got all types of eyes on him.
So, Robert, when's the last time you checked out Silk Road? I was just wondering, as far as what it looks like and what's on there now. I
haven't been to Silk Road too.
Okay, I have not either. I've tried, but like you say, it is not easy to get onto. I mean, it's a lot of hoops to jump through to be able to even access it. I did manage to get a sneak peek at the first Silk Road before it went down, and one thing that is kind of on my mind about it is that it doesn't just have drugs on it. I mean, it's a free and open market, and when I looked at Silk Road 1, all anybody ever talks about is drugs and guns, but there was all kinds of random shit on there. It was basically an unfiltered eBay.
It's drugs, guns, website design, and marketing paraphernalia. And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
so you
it.
Can't sell just, but they wouldn't keep you from selling
Nobody sells anything on there except for web design and marketing paraphernalia. That's graphic design service.
Gotcha.
I'm your guy. Seriously, there's a lot of graphic designers that are out of work, a lot of web designers that are out of work, and they're trying to find any opportunity that they can. So, yeah, they went into that marketplace. I suppose I saw some things in there as far as transport services, people offering the ability to pick up a package and take it on the plane with them and take it somewhere. Wonder if that has anything to do with any particular venue. I don't know. But if you have a package that you need delivered to India, there are people who, as far as I remember, have passports and are ready to put that package in their luggage and take it somewhere. Of course, this is where you get into the problem with the security systems, people freaking out the idea that maybe there's a bomb, something like that. I don't know. It's everything that you could possibly want should be on there, but realistically, I don't see that you're going to find a large number of the commodities or services that you might want to have there. The thing that I think is great about it that I would love to see is people actually being able to provide a product or service without paying taxes.
Yeah, that's
Because
what I was curious about. Is who cares if it's a heavily regulated item or not? If as a store owner, it would behoove me to be able to market somewhere that I didn't have to worry about filing taxes, etc. Even if it's just selling shirts,
absolutely, and the thing that's frustrating about it though is the fact that you're dealing with a limitation of services and products because of the lack. You can't do it when you're dealing with a person who actually has to do something for you while you're there. You can't buy dental surgery on Silk Road and have it, expect that it's going to get by the taxation system, because the tax overlords are going to send in a scrub that's going to come in and he's going to act like as if he's going to be the bait, and you're going to offer him the idea of paying for your services in that way, and then he's gonna nab you, he's gonna nail you. So it really bothers me. To me, the guy that I really like to talk to about this concept, about the Silk Road, and I just don't understand where he disappeared to, but Hernando de Soto Pilar, he is an amazing resource for young libertarians, or libertarians of all ages, actually, just anyone who believes in the free market and what it can do. You need to watch his videos at what is it, freetochoose.tv or freetochoose.com or freetochoose.org, one of the two or three. Look at Hernando de Soto Pilar's videos. There's one that's called Globalization at the Crossroads, and the other one is The Power of the Poor. And in The Power of the Poor specifically, there are these markets that he calls gray markets in places like Peru, where there are people who basically live outside the law, and they don't license anything through the government. They don't get, the business license and all that crap, and they get arrangements so that their property is listed as far as like the ability to borrow against it. People respect this property. There is an agreement as far as like within the community that this person owns this property, and then they can borrow and leverage against that property in order to buy capital goods and then produce things that people want. And then they can sell those goods to companies in the United States and other countries where they normally couldn't because of the government legislation that's going on in Peru. So this system that we have now with the Silk Road can provide a lot of gray market opportunities, and it can actually show the power of the poor. The unfortunate thing is that because of the technological barriers of the Silk Road and Bitcoin, the poor may not be the most skilled at being able to benefit from it. So I guess that people like Jeff Berwick are carpet bear, they're robber barons, they're carpetbaggers. They're going into these marketplaces and they're setting up things like Bitcoin wallets and Bitcoin ATMs where, yeah, they're going to benefit the hell out of the system because they're providing a service that people want, but only because they know how to do it first. Well, we're experiencing a new modern era of what people in the future who are idiots, just like the previous idiots that we had in the past, they're going to claim that it's carpetbagging. There are people going in because of their technological superior knowledge and taking advantage of these poor people in some way. I predict a future of great prosperity for everyone who is a Bitcoin entrepreneur who takes not just the Bitcoin and invests in it, but actually uses the technology as it's intended to be used, which is to provide a distribution of trade in areas where government may not appreciate it and may actually try to stop it, but you can't stop it unless you're actually an in-person, hand-to-hand type of thing. So, what do you think? I mean, is that kind of like a good evaluation and understanding of that?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I'm not sure that that's necessarily going to be the perception. It may be among some, but the way I look at it is, kind of the rising tide raises all the ships. I think that we're going to see this technology accessible to more and more people at a much more rapid rate than, say, the automobile was, or flying for travel and that kind of thing, just simply because of the acceleration of technology and resources all over the world. So I don't know that. I mean, yeah, the early adopters are definitely going to get rich on it, and that may cause some animosity or whatever, like you say. But I really think it's going to be accessible to third world countries a lot sooner than, like it says, cars or airplanes or anything like that. So I don't know. I see this as just a win-win, really, for everybody.
But the problem that I'm seeing, though, I mean, you do see the problem with the technological barriers that exist as far as technical knowledge, and you
Yeah,
know,
but I think that that's temporary. I think that's something they need to fix, but I think it's going to get fixed. I think
obviously,
if you look at Cody Wilson's dark wallet and that kind of thing, I think it's a matter of time before those types of technologies are just stupid proof. You're going to be able to go click on an app, like I said, and boom, you're anonymous and you're dark and you can do whatever the fuck you want. It's not going to take very long. I mean, I'm impatient for it personally, but I think in the scheme of history and accessibility of technology and wealth, that this is going to come very, very fast. Maybe I'm overly optimistic. I don't know.
well, the thing that I fear is going to be a problem is that we have a society that is full of so many socialist nut jobs who don't understand what.
No, I don't think you are overly optimistic at all. I mean, shit, we went from the iPhone 1 to the iPhone 7, and
Oh, it looks like you're getting a little bit of a delay there, Kyron. I would suggest you double check all of your shit and make sure you're not running a lot of other things in the background. Use that task manager and
I
shut
think
down
it's some
stuff.
kind of delay.
Yeah, there's a delay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and mute up Kyron. And I guess we're going to go ahead and let him unmute himself when he's going to be ready to talk and be on par with the timeline. All right. So the thing that I'm saying is that you have people who are ready and willing to jump on any freaking risk of the free market doing something that creates advantage for some group of people that other people feel like is unfair. And because people like Berwick are creating all of these business venture, all these ventures that they're putting their money into and they're investing in and they're creating an opportunity for all sorts of people, well, they're going to profit. We know that they're going to profit. I mean, creating ATMs that are, you can, they might even have a printer that would let you print a frickin', Visa ATM card at the kiosk, if you can imagine that shit.
Yep.
Where you put your own bitcoins on it and you can pay with that card.
They have one. It's a MasterCard.
Okay, so, I mean, this is going to be a huge windfall for him in so many ways. And there's are going to be other things. All these other ventures are going to come up, like you're going to have Bitcoin financing, which is going to be venture capitalists who are going to use Bitcoin to finance the creation of new businesses that no longer fall under the governance of this state apparatus that exists around these people. They're going to be living through the darknet. They're going to be making all sorts of profits hand over fist as far as like the local, I don't know, let's say that's the local, I don't know, furniture maker guy, and he's doing under the table handouts and buying off people to like ship shit out of his warehouses, and he's going to make enough money that he can move into a island resort somewhere and become completely independent and he's going to be considered to be somebody that took advantage. That he was one of the carpetbaggers that went in to these poor markets, and because of their technological advantage, stole all the labor out from under these poor people by paying them, 10 times what they were being paid before. Obviously, that's stupid, but the spin is going to be sold that way, don't you think?
Yeah, the free market gets blamed for everything. I mean, good, bad, or ugly, there's always a negative spin on the free market.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I just figure don't let it bother us. Move forward. Do it. Create a bunch of we need a whole bunch of rich anarchists. We do. We really do.
Well, that would be freaking nice. I mean, I quite frankly though, I'm looking at.
I'll volunteer to be one, by the way.
I'm halfway there.
You're halfway there.
Yeah, an anarchist.
Yeah, you don't have the rich part.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's that's just a couple of milestones away. Anarchy, profit. Oh, it just doesn't work. No, you have to have an idea as far as like how to use the technology that's coming available, and I'm remiss in doing my due diligence in being familiar with the technology. Quite frankly, I would say that both of you are too, but I don't know for sure. I know that Cody, you obviously sound a little bit lackluster with your knowledge when it comes to Bitcoin and the transactional methods that occur there and all that kind of stuff.
And and to kind of reinforce what we were saying before, as far as the barrier to entry, I don't really consider myself a dunce, a stupid guy. I mean, I pretty much pick up on things pretty easily, usually. And I've invested a shit ton of hours reading about and looking at Bitcoin. I still have hardly fucking clue. I mean, like I said, I own some. I've gone through the process of buying some. I've used it to buy cigars, etc. I mean, I can make it work. It's still not easy. I still don't necessarily understand the technology, because the people who do understand it are largely these programmers, quite frankly, who speak another fucking language, not sarcastically either. They really do speak another language, and they just assume they know what the hell you're talking about. And we definitely got to get that barrier to entry to go away for it to have any sort of mass appeal and really explode. But I totally lost where we were going with that. Anyway.
Well, I mean, quite frankly, if I could freaking just develop a freaking app that would integrate the protocols that are necessary to make the anonymization of Bitcoin possible, just by, I don't know, using a Tor browser in some fashion. I know that there's a Tor browser for the Android phone. All right, so I could set that up, and then I guess I would have to use a browser-based system in order to sell stuff. And bottom line is, it's a bunch of gobbledygook. It's freaking a pain in the ass to figure out, but we need to freaking spend the time to do it if we're going to try to be leaders in this cutting edge. In fact, it's a bleeding edge, and who are causing the bleed? It's the government. That's the best thing about it. So anyway, now that you're back on, Daniel.
Yes. What is it, my love?
What were the things that you were wanting to talk about that were on the show that we missed?
I don't know.
Well,
Because I'm very good at going. I'm a low key guy. I'm going with the flow. Pick a topic, and if it's something that interests me, I'll say, and I'll talk about it.
Okay, so you didn't have anything that you had left over that you wanted to say but didn't get to say.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, make your damn thing stop bleeping. No more blinking, lurking, or whatever the fuck it is.
It's Facebook. Let me get off it. All right.
You can actually just mute conversations until 8 a.m. tomorrow. And that way you don't have to worry about that crap.
I'll learn how to do that. I'm also whatever.
Yeah, but it's people that are on this show.
People on the show.
That are talking.
People on the show. Yeah. So, what do you want to talk about? Pick a topic.
What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about the ownage that the Justicar did on us.
Who?
The Justicar, the guy that had the question
What was the question?
that we did on the Atheist Experience.
Oh, we did that already, though.
No, he came back with a reply.
Oh, he saw our show?
Of course.
What was the reply?
Well, he, you know what?
And why is he on here? Yeah, what's the reply?
He kind of owned me in a certain respect. You know, I said that, you know, people who have their doors broken down in the process of trying to achieve justice, who were innocent victims that the police just broke their door down and went in, that nobody cares. Well, truth is that there's actually laws on the books. I would akin his reply to something along the lines of, no, God does care, because it is in the Bible that this is not right. You know, the
There are
unfortunate
laws
fact
on the books that no one follows and enforces. Who gives a shit then?
well,
Meaningless. There's a law that police aren't supposed to kick in the doors, but we're never ever going to punish for them if they do.
well, you know, that there's something in the book, the magical book of God, or I mean, sorry, government, that says that we will compensate people for the erroneous actions that harm them.
Right, and did you call him a retard saying, when does that ever happen?
No, I haven't called him a retard because I know that there are some times that it did happen. There are lawsuits.
Sometimes, fine.
Sometimes,
No,
just
there's
occasional.
always a case you could think of.
Yeah, but
you know, kind of crazy.
You know, last time I checked, the victims of, I don't know, let's say slavery.
Yes.
Slavery, an institution, you know, protected by government, created, had no financial remuneration for what it is that they suffered. Last time I checked, the Native Americans got totally fucked out of what it was that they had going on. Last time I checked, every single person who was incarcerated in Colorado for recreational use of marijuana, which is now legal, has not received financial remuneration for their incarceration. Yeah, this guy has a point, I suppose. It's in the book.
Fine,
Just-
but that's a stupid argument. It's just, come on, let's be realistic. He should come on the show and debate us.
Well,
yeah, it's a stupid argument because rarely is there compensation, right? Government means we're gonna fuck up, and even admit we fuck up, although that never really happens. But assume they might admit it, but they're not gonna do anything wrong, right? Like maybe the police will say, "Oh, we shouldn't have thrown that grenade in your baby's crib," which they didn't do. They said it's justified, which makes it even scarier. But they're not going to pay for hospital bills. They're not going to do what they can to make. I mean, there's no way they can make it okay. I mean, who knows if that baby's even going to live, right?
Well, and of course, the justification that they gave regarding the guy's lawsuit, where he was stabbed on the I don't know if it was the L train or the subway, where there was a police officer that was there that didn't act, and they said, well, the police officers do not have a obligation to protect you. This was an actual ruling by a court that says we don't have an obligation to protect you. So you have no court case to sue the person who didn't do the job that you theoretically are paying him for, which is to protect and serve.
No, you're not paying him to protect and serve. You're paying him because you have a gun to your head saying, "Give me the money, or you're going to go into the who's gal." All right, that's why you're paying him. It's a racket. It's a total racket. But it's worse than the mafia because the mafia will actually protect you and only wants 10%.
Yeah, and the mafia, I mean, seriously, if somebody did come in and fuck up your shit, whoever did it is going to be pissed because, surprise, surprise, in comes my mafia guys, and they're going to beat the crap out of them. They're going to say, "Oh, whoa, wait a minute, I probably shouldn't have done that. You told me not to do that, and I did it, and I probably should have listened to what you said." So
yeah.
I would trust the mafia or the mob with my money for a protection racket scheme more so than any freaking government racket.
I guess. No, so would I. I mean, so would I. I don't trust the government for anything.
So he cites like, this code and this code and this code. You know what? He even said that we sounded like religious zealots. Well, you know what? Who sounds like a freaking religious zealot? The guy who says, "Well, Job 3:16 says, blah 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 blah." Well, actually, sorry, it's U.S. Code 1022.25.4. Same fucking thing.
Right. Name calling is if that's all he's got, I think it's a good sign he wants to debate.
Well, bring it on. I quite frankly, it's just absolutely.
And why isn't he on the show to debate you? Come on.
Because,
what is this?
Well, obviously, when he said that his cat's cord was chewed up, it wasn't chewed up for 2 days later when he, or actually 1 day later when he made his
Maybe
video.
he got it replaced. Who the hell knows?
I don't know.
I told you that was the dog ate my homework. That's what the excuse sounded like.
The dog ate my homework. Well, obviously.
Dog. Hey, Cody, are you here?
Yeah.
Cody, he's
Just
getting
came back.
cigar, right?
I don't know how much longer I'm going to stay because I've been at work all day. But maybe till 11. I'll see.
All right. So I did want to ask a question about the Hobby Lobby thing because this is a question that we didn't get to on the show, and I thought it was an important topic.
Yes.
And a lot of
Supreme Court ruled correctly. Wow.
No, the Supreme Court did not rule correctly. You're
What do you
totally
mean? It was on the side of Hobby Lobby.
Not enough. They didn't.
Come on. Count your blessings.
Count my blessings. Oh, thank you, states. Thank you. Please. I appreciate it. No.
Maybe not enough.
Not enough.
I mean, they probably should have said
the
no
whole
all in the
freaking
shit.
law. They should have overturned the entire ACA. The Affordable Care Act should have been totally overturned with that case right there. Hey, I'm a person, and you are putting a gun in my head saying I have to pay for that guy's shit.
Yeah. Did you watch the Young Turks' response to it? They're fucking idiots. But the Young Turks was basically, well, how about this was horrible. They side on the side of corporations. Well, how about the freedom, to have sex with who you want? Like, no one's stopping you from doing anything. Pay for your own fucking condoms. Why is that the responsibility of someone else? Why does Hobby Lobby have to pay for your condoms? No one is stopping you from having sex with who you want.
Well,
I'm really kind of confused about this whole thing because it's about employers paying for birth control. Well, anybody who has a job can afford birth control. It isn't fucking expensive. I don't understand.
It's like the cheapest thing in the world. It's like $2. They give it away for free.
Yeah, but the thing also should be a point is that it doesn't cover condoms. You can't buy condoms with it.
That's one of the reasons why I love this, because the left are like the biggest assholes. Do you know how expensive it would if they have 21,000 employees to pay for their birth control, but how cheap for the individual to do it? So cheap. But they're just like, no, I don't want to spend $2 for it. Someone else should pay for it. Like, you don't really value it.
Well, they're not paying for my movies.
You have a job.
They're not paying for me to go to my movies, so I mean,
why do you have to buy birth control anyway? If your girlfriend or wife gets pregnant, just throw it down the flight of stairs.
Yeah, Robert, you've got a good point. Watching movies is good for my psyche. It keeps me, sane and less stressed. It's good for stress therapy, and that leads to a host of other benefits that, without watching movies, I could have reproductive problems, I could have ulcers, heart defect, all kinds of issues. They really need to start paying for my Netflix subscription. I really
obviously, and what the fact is that I am a more productive employee as a result of having my movies paid for by my employer. Why wouldn't they want to actually contribute to their own productivity?
I don't understand how you have to. I don't understand. You like the biggest prick in the world. Like how is this? I mean, the world is a lot of people are very insane. But how is there anyone on the other side? How is there anyone on the other side who says, "Oh, this is wrong. The Supreme Court made a mistake"?
Well, I'll tell you why. It's because we have assholes as fucking allies. And I used to think that, I could explain away the frickin' nut jobbery that comes from the religious
They're
right.
not allies. Enemies. Continue.
Well, when it comes to the war against the liberal advancements against personal liberty, they are somewhat of our allies. At least I thought so. But then, I was trying to argue with these liberal nut jobs, and I was saying, all right, look, you know that I'm an intelligent man. You know that I am not an evil person. You know I don't believe in a god. You know that I really want to try to help the poor. I actually volunteer at the storehouse here in Albuquerque, and so on. Why in the world would I possibly align myself with this nut jobbery called religion if I didn't have some good reason? I thought that was a good argument, at least to get them to think, like question maybe why would Robert ally with these religious right wackos? No, it just doesn't fucking work. They don't understand rationale behind somebody else's thinking. They, in fact, I think are quite frankly, they're incapable of empathy.
One of the things that pisses me off is a lot of the criticisms, like that's why I sort of said that guy was sort of nice when he made the video, because what pisses me off the most are people who criticize people's views who are too lazy to even understand people's views. Like, I remember...
Okay, you froze up there. Repeat that. You're gonna have to start over.
What pisses me off are people who criticize other people's views but being too lazy to actually understand people's views first. Like, oh, if you're a libertarian, everything Ayn Rand said must be true, and all the stereotypes and nonsense, and not reading anything or hearing the arguments. I read an article where someone was criticizing Austrian economics and libertarians for believing that man is purely just this economic rational character. What are you, an idiot? Ludwig von Mises wrote a whole book criticizing the idea of the economic man. So if you're going to criticize libertarians, at least understand the arguments first.
Well, the thing that just drives me freaking nuts about you're just like follower of like this whack job lady's perspective. Her name is Ayn Rand, and
yeah, they hate Ayn Rand.
Obviously,
I don't know why they hate her so much, but I like her because they hate her.
Well, you know what? Quite frankly, Ayn Rand said of our position, she said, "The anarchist is the scum of the intellectual world of the left, which has given them up. So the right picks up another leftist discard. That's the libertarian movement." You know what? She was not a frickin' anarchist. She was not a libertarian. She was a statist, just like a very large number of the others. She had her own pet projects that she was willing to point the gun at people to get their money to fund, which was protecting Israel from the abuses of whatever. You know what? Israel has people. Israel has money. Israel can buy guns. Israel can actually buy nuclear weapons. They have nuclear weapons. So they're fine. Nobody's going to fuck with them in any real form and do any good. And if they do, well, you know what? I'm perfectly fine with funding people voluntarily. I'm okay with the idea of sending my money over to mercenaries who will go in and assassinate some asshole or things of that nature. The idea that we need to have this like massive form of abuse that just kills innocent people around the world is ridiculous. If I can't buy off the guy's second in command and pay him to just outright kill the bad guy, obviously I'm not doing the free market right, because realistically, as a group of people who are living in one of the most prosperous country in the entire region, Israel is dominating every other country in that region economically. The only thing they got going for them is oil. and Israel is still blowing them away because even though they got tons and tons and tons of oil, Israel's coming out with computer chips and all this other crap.
You anti-Semite.
It's stupid.
It's. I don't think she
I'm
was
not
a
an
fan.
anti-Semite. What are you talking about?
Just fucking around with you. I don't think. No, she was a fan of Israel more than the fan of the Arabs, as I am myself. But I don't think that she was. She said, "Oh, you should give foreign aid to Israel." I don't think she said anything like that. She just said, you know, if someone asked her in the Israeli debate, what side are you on, and she picked a side. She said, that, well, I don't see how that means she wants to point gun at anything. One, she's just saying I'm on this person's side and not that person's side.
Yeah, you know, I think my stance on Ayn Rand has been the same for the last couple of years. She was a statist because of some sentimental shit that she grew up with. You know, she grew up in Russia, saw the oppression there, and America was that great white beacon of hope. And so she bought into the whole Founding Fathers mythos that surrounds America. And you can see it when you read her writing, not her fiction. I wish people would get off her fucking fiction sometimes because, yeah, she wrote Atlas Shrugged and has changed a whole bunch of people's lives and everything. But when you get into like Philosophy Who Needs It or the epistemology of objectivism, you start to see where she jumps the rails. I mean, she'll be basically lining out a great philosophy for anarchism and then all of a sudden does a complete 180 and just totally jumps the fucking rails and goes and talks about how a state is needed. She talks about man being rational, and then if left to his own devices, he's going to be a bunch of warring factions, and it's bizarre. It's bizarre to watch her jump tracks in her philosophy like that.
Yeah, quite.
But I think it's all about the sentimental value of her dream for what she thought America should have been. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know how we got on Ayn Rand. You know, Robert, you brought up a good point as far as being able to pay for a mercenary. And it was one that I didn't think of when Wayne posted a link the other day about the guy who was ranting about, well, what if your daughter was sold into sex slave in an anarchist society, and what would you do? And
yeah, that's the thing that we did on the anarchist experience.
Okay, so I had to step away for a minute while you guys were talking about it. I apologize, but that guy, first of all, man, he was so smug. It was hard to watch. But you know, you make up a good point with the whole. Yeah, I should be able to hire Liam Neeson if my daughter goes missing. It shouldn't be that expensive to go find her and go kill the one dude who does it. That getting a whole ring or an industry going requires statism. And in an anarchist society, it would all be individual action, and it's going to be very difficult for somebody to have the resources to create this black market of children when you could go right in and, you know, hire your own mercenaries to go take care of that shit and bring a kid home.
Actually, I never brought that point up, but, you know, one of the things that I said in regard to the idea of if you had a compound where you have people who are totally independent of, they're off the grid, so to speak. They're not dependent upon anybody else. They provide their own food. They provide their own energy. They provide their own sewage. There's not a damn thing that you can do to them as far as social ostracism. They've got this cult thing going on. And they're not willing to entertain your idea of having a third-party educator. They're not going to sign on to any third-party justice system. Okay. Yep. Well, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be doing some awful shit. And there's going to be some people who are going to be vigilantes who are going to go in and they're going to fuck your shit up. They're going to come in there and they're going to take the kids and save their asses and steal them away. They're going to kidnap your children and save them from your awful bullshit crappy cult. And then what do? Oh, well, you're going to be all pissed off that, or we got your kids. Ooh, too bad. Suck it up. Oh, what are you going to do? You're going to come and want to talk to our third-party arbitration system and try to get those kids back? Oh, well, we went to court and they said the ruling is against you because you didn't want to be a part of the system. You didn't want to be a part of our free market opportunity to choose your arbitrator. Okay, so be it. Suck it up. These people that are going to aggress against children, mutilating their children with whatever it is that they're doing, they will reap the reward that is coming to them. There will be people who will take actions to save the children, and no one will be willing to prosecute them for them unless they were already integrated into the society where you have a returning incentive. When you have multiple deals with a person because of repeat business, you have to do right by that person. If you don't have that respect, if you don't have that negotiation, that existing bond that you've established, well, then you're going to lose out. You're not gonna achieve what it is that you want. So by creating repeat business, that's where you achieve a consistency of justice. And people who refuse to be a part of it, well, they're going to get inconsistent justice, and they're going to realize the benefits of having consistent justice. And soon enough, you're going to have consistent justice by having agreements with various different arbitration, institutions who will accept each other's agreements. So, in any case, I think that we're going to go ahead and call this show pretty short. I mean, it's not like we had a lot to work with the previous hour, 2 hours. Actually, there is one thing. There is one thing, and Ruff, you got to give your input on this before you go. What do you think of the commercials?
There's too many of them. Way too many of them.
You're muted.
I'm muted?
You think?
Yeah. No, sorry, you were just delayed. I agree with you, though.
I think
I'm
there
all
are too many
for commercials, but there was too many.
Oh, you agree, Cody? Too many?
I said you think as in like... Oh. So
yeah,
no,
there are
I
too
said
many
you
commercials.
think as in like a... I agree.
And that one
I
woman who was
agree,
singing,
and I was...
there was one that
What's
a
that?
woman was singing, and she sucked. I don't know who that was, but she was pretty bad.
Yeah, she was pretty bad. Actually, we got a question from CG2End on our mercenary thing. What about the NAP? How's that work with mercenaries? Well, here's the deal. No, actually, I want to throw that out to Cody. Here's a pass.
I'm going to go because I really
got the ball.
I'm going to go, guys, but nice hanging with you.
Oh, you fucking pansy.
Daniel, you pussy. Come on.
I've been inside all day, but I
take a
appreciate
Red Bull. Just take off your shirt. You'll be fine.
You don't want me to take off my shirt.
Let's see some nip.
All
All right.
I give you a free
seriously. If we're gonna go after Dan leaves, then let's get his input on this, and then we'll get your input on it, Cody.
Sounds good.
What
the hell? I mean,
mercenaries?
yeah, you hire some mercenaries.
Well,
They go in, they break into some guy's property, they take some kids out.
And was the guy guilty? Was the guy guilty?
Well, they were his kids. All he was doing was circumcising them.
Well, again, my point of view is that the victim has a right to press charges, and again, I think that would be unacceptable to take away a person's kids because you circumcise them. I am against circumcision. I do believe it's a violation of a person's rights, but I believe it's more of a violation of a person. Look, if you ask people who are circumcised, would you rather be circumcised and have your parents, or uncircumcised and not have your parents? What do you think the answer is going to be?
They'd have different parents. They'd be put into.
Okay, but the parents who have, ask them that. And if they say, no, I'd rather have my birth parents, then you're making him worse by taking him away. Now, now, if you're going to ask someone, would you rather have your birth parents or parents who would rape you, or a parent who would punch you in the stomach every day? Then you'll probably get a different answer. But me personally, I wouldn't want someone to take my parents away from me just because I was circumcised. I forgive my parents.
Okay, I mean, with my relationship with my parents, quite frankly, I'd take them for all they're worth. But that's because of other things, not because of the circumcision. I mean, it doesn't really bug me. So, whatever.
So that's sort of my view on that.
So, what do you have to say on it, Cody? I mean, maybe it's not circumcision.
I'd like to.
Peace, brother.
See you, Dan. I'd like to actually address it within the context of that I brought it up in. And when I was talking about hiring a mercenary, it was in response to the fellow's argument about what would an anarchist society do about a sex trafficking monster who steals your kid and puts your daughter into the market as a sex slave. And that was where I brought up the mercenary point. And this kind of goes back to the same thing. I think I said it in the last show. Kyron and I have been talking about this. I see it over and over and over and over again. And people who always bring up the NAP as if they're trying to get a gotcha moment, like, oh, wait a minute, aren't you violating the NAP? They always forget the one word in the NAP, which is the initiation. I did not initiate violence upon that kidnapper by sending a murderer to go kill him. He is the one who initiated the violence upon my child. So this is a method of self-defense.
Okay, but what if your information is wrong?
Well, within the contract of hiring a hitman, I would be putting into that contract that you must bring me my child back. I mean, that's the bottom line. I don't give a...
That's not the point that I'm asking. The point is, let's say that they find out information that George Jones has your kid. Turns out there's two George Jones that live in the same neighborhood, and he goes to the wrong George Jones.
Yeah, this is my point, though, Robert, is I would have in the contract explicitly that you are to get my child and either kill or capture the person who did it. And if you get the wrong guy, or if there's collateral damage, then that is 100% on you, because I'm not hiring you to go kill indiscriminately or cause violence or trespass against other people's property outside of the person responsible. So as a bounty hunter, that's up to you to provide the quality service.
That's dodging the question. I mean, what if the bounty hunter or the hitman breaks into a home, accosts some people, figures out that it's the wrong home, but has created emotional trauma, has potentially, obviously has damaged property in the process, maybe even during the process throws a flashbang grenade into a child's carriage or crib. Don't you have the same problem?
I don't think that is dodging the question, though, because I just said before I would hire a hitman, it would be an explicit part of the contract.
What does the hitman do? What does the hitman do in that situation? What is the justice for the people who are wrongfully attacked by this hitman?
In that case, he initiated violence against innocent people, and he will be held accountable to that violence. The person who...
And the same claim that he has said is that, well, you know what, there's actually law on the books that says that we will protect these people, not protect these people, that we will reimburse these people for losses. So it's already covered just like yours. You're not doing anything different than we are.
You lost me on that.
Okay. In essence, what you have is a person or group of people who are skilled military forces who are entering into a domicile to try to achieve some goal, whether it's retrieving a child or whatever. They break into the wrong home. They do damage. Same thing happens in the case like we just saw in the status solution. Then the question is that does the person have a claim against the state or against the person for damages? And according to him, there is something on the books that says, hey, we have to provide remuneration to these people for losses that they experienced during our misdeed. This is actually a law that's on the books. He cited the verse and passage from the Holy Book.
You know, the difference is that what I'm saying is that mercenary, that individual, will be held accountable and responsible. And in the way it is now, even if the state pays you, pays your medical bills or reimburses you for property, which they don't always, the cop still walks. The cop can go fuck somebody else.
That's exactly my point.
And that's what I'm saying, is in a private society, there would be no third-party shield. There would be no corporation of police. There would be individual mercenaries, individual people that you are hiring and contracting with. And if they breach that contract by hitting an innocent person along the way, their fucking ass is grass. They are going to be...
Well, they got to be really good at their job and making sure that they're not fucking up the wrong person.
Exactly. There's a very, very strong incentive to go get the right person, the kidnapper, the murderer, the person that they were hired to go get, and not cause any collateral damage whatsoever, or they're going to be held accountable for the crimes that they commit in doing so. And that's not the system that we have now. Even if the state reimburses somebody, that cop is not held accountable whatsoever. He's given a 2-week paid vacation. 2-week paid vacation and guilty conscience, maybe. That's all he has.
Yeah, that's the critical point, is that the people who are actually involved in the action, doing the wrongdoing, they are not the ones that are liable. But the thing is that I tried to answer the question from his perspective, and I say, all right, well, you know what? Quite frankly, he's going to hire a company called Bounty Hunters Insurance Company, and they're going to be the ones that are going to pay up. He's not going to pay up. Well, Bounty Hunters Insurance Company is going to have his rates increase. In fact, they're going to have his rates increase drastically if it's a significant problem.
And there will be certain things that they will not cover.
That's right.
You kill somebody, or you kill or maim a kid while you're doing your job, guess what? Your insurance policy, null and void.
Well, we're not going to have any future dealings with you. We're going to pay out this one, and that's it. You're done. Well, any future things, you're screwed. You're essentially an indentured servant for the rest of your life because you fucked up again. No, it's not something that somebody's going to risk.
Something else on that video, I don't know if maybe you can link to it in this, since we're kind of approaching his, and I didn't see your rebuttal on your other show. I'm sorry for that. But something in his video that he also assumed was how he presented it as if it would be very difficult to travel in a free society.
Oh yeah, we addressed that one. Now I mean, it's like
moving around is automatically violating somebody else's property rights. That made absolutely no fucking sense to me at all. I don't even know where he's coming from on that.
And in his rebuttal to my rebuttal, or Daniel and I had our rebuttal, he completely glosses over that. He doesn't accept any points that he loses. But, I mean, our question was, so last time I checked, people who run roads don't really care whether you're going to drive on them to try to catch a criminal or buy donuts. So what's the problem here?
Right.
Okay, not an issue.
He also assumes that everybody's hostile all the time. He gave the example of this criminal hiding out in Florida, and the community wouldn't want you coming in and capturing this criminal. Why not? Why? Who in their fucking right mind would want a rapist, kidnapping murderer as a neighbor? Why wouldn't they not have incentive to help you? It just doesn't even make sense. I don't know. He's just
You know, and I suggested that, I mean, if you're dealing with innocent people, this is something that he thought it was a ludicrous idea, but I don't think it's ludicrous at all. You're dealing with innocent people. Okay, first of all, innocent people, if you're dealing with a society that has, you know, crime of this nature, well, maybe they might want to have cameras in their home to photograph the people who are taking their shit, including their kids.
Exactly.
And then you come across Joe Schmo, who happens to be Joe Schmo 2, not Joe Schmo 1, who actually committed the crime. So you come upon Joe Schmo 1, and you say, hey, yeah, we've got some information that suggests that you might have a child here. And he's like, well, obviously, I don't have Joe Schmo 1 here. I don't have any kids here. And here's the number for my security department. You go ahead and give them a call, and they will pull up my recordings, and they will confirm that I don't have a child here. And since you have repeat dealings with this business, there is no reason for you to create any more hostility there. I mean, the guy's recordings are, let's say, on his own cloud server that he has to give permission to use. And if he gives permission to say, all right, well, here, look, ain't nothing going on here. You can freaking look at everything, but you don't even have to come on my property. That might be the case. I don't know. But to him, that seemed like, well, nobody's going to want to have any cameras in their home. Well, you know what? There's tons of people who have cameras in their fucking home right now. Hell, I was just watching Twitch TV the other day, and I saw this girl who apparently there were people who broken into her home and accosted her, took her guns, and while this thing is being recorded live, the people who are there communicated to the other people that are out there, and finally they contacted a defense organization called the police, and they came in and they caught one of the guys, and they ended up catching the other guy. So this idea that it's a foreign concept, that it would never happen, it's just ridiculous. I mean, we're in the era of modern technology, and some people, a very large percentage of population, will have tools available to them to keep track of their shit.
Oh yeah, arguably more so in a free society because technology won't be so hampered by regulation and corporatism and all the other bullshit that's involved.
So Brian Quitasol says NAP is not a principle. Okay, well, just to double check, non-aggression principle. Yeah. It says it is. Maybe it's not. I mean, I say I'm a Christian. You say I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, okay. I'm not a Christian, but well, whatever. But then he continues, survival of one's genes is the principle anarchists should live by. Okay. Well then, this completely justifies rape, right? Doesn't it?
Suppose it might. The if you want to go from an evolutionary standpoint, the whole reason that we are social animals is that we saw the benefit of it. You go around raping and murdering and stealing and beating people up, other humans are going to kill you, and your genes are no longer put forward. There's incentive, even from the gene pool, of being a nice guy, treating other people well. Kind of goes to the mutual preferable behavior. I forget, UPB, universally preferable behavior. Somewhat on those terms, but I know that you're not a fan of that either, Robert.
Well, I think that the article was, I don't know, it wasn't very well thought out and demonstrated. I think that, as far as I'm concerned, consistency and implicit agreement is definitely a factor when it comes to UPB. And I don't think that Molyneux was very eloquent with his explanation of it. I mean, I really appreciate his ability to speak to all sorts of issues. In this one, he's just not very well spoken. He's right, but it's so poorly worded. It's just bad that way. And the fact is that I don't know, if I steal your thing, if I steal your stuff, I've already accepted a principle by doing so. I have stated in my action that this is my principle and understanding of reality. And that principle is that I don't accept property ownership. And so I have given implicit consent for anyone to use and take my stuff, which is not my stuff because I don't have any claim of my stuff anymore. So to me, the real question is that is it consistent or not? If it's not a consistent rule, then it's not legitimate. By taking an action, I have agreed to the equal and opposite reaction. It's the fact of nature to me. I mean, so anyway, so he suggests.
I wonder if that commenter could elaborate a little bit more on what he feels.
Oh, yeah, he does. He does. Okay. He says, yeah, rape is justified if you are the last of your line. You know, if you are the last of your genetic makeup, then rape is legitimate. I think he's a nut jobber. I mean, I'm sorry, but you know, Brian, you're way off base here. Look, rape is the denial of another person's self-ownership.
I am the last of my line. I am a son. I'm an only son of an only son of an only son, and I have no genetic heirs. So you're telling me that
you have a vasectomy?
Yes.
Well, you're an idiot. I don't know what the hell. Look, a lot of people have the idea that genetic replication of one's own chromosomes and one's own genome is the end-all be-all, and that's stupid. Okay, the whole point of genetic reproduction and the evolutionary process, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong on this, but you can tell me, you know, Brian, you can give me your input, whatever. The whole point of it is to, in my mind, I'm assuming that I don't believe in a God. I am a atheist absolute. I am actually like militant atheist. I will tell Christians left and right they're fucking nut jobs, and Islamists they're crazy fucking nut jobs. All right. The whole point of genetic reproduction, the whole point of evolution, the whole point of the system that we've encountered in our understanding is to prevent heat death. People who have the ability to actually choose actions and manipulate matter and control it and make it do what they want is to prevent this never-ending goal that happens to be entropy, that causes molecules and energy to spread and disperse amongst the universe, that will eventually cause the death and destruction of everything that exists, that all we will be is just single atoms or even subatomic particles floating in nothingness, completely dispersed from everything else. The whole point is to stop that splitting of nothingness, to keep us together and to form a thing that lasts, that can stop this destruction.
An enduring state.
What's that?
An enduring state of matter.
An enduring state, yeah.
Not with a capital S.
Yeah, it's it's, I mean, he says don't mistake rape as being the first option, but I mean seriously.
Why wouldn't it be? Wait a minute. If he's saying that it's ethical to go ahead and rape if I'm the last of my genetic lineage, then why wouldn't it be the first option? Why would it be preferable for it to not be the first option?
Well, because if you rape,
no, I'm asking him. I would like to know what he says. You know, why would he even say that if it's ethical for me to go ahead and rape somebody?
All right. Well, okay. Here's the quote specifically. It says when you're last of your line. All right, and then we say rape would be your last option, but is still a valid option under survival principle, which I think is idiocy, but whatever.
But why? Why is there a hierarchy of his morality?
Let me finish his. Okay.
All right.
By the survival principle, you must weigh your reputation due to rape versus the increase in survivability if you were to rape. Don't mistake rape as being the first option. Okay. First of all, I don't have the, I don't know, hubris to think that my genetic markers, my genetic makeup within the human genome is so valuable that I have the right to force it upon other people. If I was some sort of, I don't know, alien from Aliens, then sure. If I was some sort of beast that would force my, I don't know, let's say I'm a wasp and I'm going to inject into my victim a parasite that will eventually grow into a new wasp swarm. Sure, but I'm not a frickin' beast. I'm willing to accept the fact that I have come from a genetic line of thinking that, number one, created two separate genetic models, female and male. Obviously, we're not designed to have only one genetic marker set. We're designed to have two separate ones. If I was an amoeba, I'd have your perspective just fine. But I'm not a frickin' amoeba. I'm a frickin' polysexual organism. I have to interact with a frickin' female to make things happen. I mean, I suppose in technology, if I was a female, I could actually like just clone myself and add infinitum. Actually, I don't know. Maybe you could clone males, whatever. Doesn't matter. Evolution has created a variety of different organisms to do various different things. But the most important thing is that evolution actually created thought in a creature that is able to predict things. Unlike every other frickin' amoeba and stupid idiot frickin' one sex-based organism, there's not a single one-sex organism on the planet that is able to predict shit. Okay? So, why in the world would we want to deny our ability to predict? Okay? So we know that we can predict stuff in the future, and one of the things that we can predict is that by raping, we are creating a hostile environment for our own species. There will be defensive measures that will be taken. There will be violence that will be created. There will be people that will fight to kill the other person from disseminating his seed. This is not a prosperous situation. Trade, voluntary, cooperative trade is what propagates a species into incredible. I mean, look at the number of human beings that are on the planet. Are you freaking kidding me? We're the most powerful organism that's ever existed in existence that we know of. I mean, obviously, viruses are really powerful. They've been kicking ass and taking names. Germs have been doing the shit really damn well. but they don't really have the intelligence to prevent the calamity that's going to come for every freaking thing in existence. There is nothing that's going to stop heat death but intelligence and the ability to predict the future. And for us to subsume ourselves to some stupid, violent procreation bullshit is it's mindless. You're not an ape.
It is mindless. That's, he's. I get the impression he's trying to come from an evolutionary standpoint in ethics, but like you pointed out, our very evolution has created our rationality and the ability to conceptualize ideas. Why should we be held to a moral standard of nothing but a dog or an ape? I mean, I don't understand where he's coming from on this. Maybe he could elaborate a little bit. He or she.
Well, he says the survival principle is the NAP under normal circumstances. Like Newton's law of gravity works for everyday estimations. But the NAP does not apply well in extreme circumstances, like stealing when you're in face of imminent starvation. So you're stuck in a forest, you see a cabin. You can either choose to break into the cabin and eat the food and survive, or freeze outside.
That's not tough. That's not a tough moral dilemma to me. I mean, obviously you're going to do what you need to survive, but that does not mean that you don't owe the owner of that property reparations for your actions.
So his response is, then why not rape?
How are you going to... Well, you're raping somebody does not...
He's ensuring his survival.
No, you're not.
Yeah, she's going to give birth to my progeny.
But that's not your survival. That's your progeny.
No, that's my genome's survival, because I am a matter... All I am is the amoeba, which is my genetic material.
Yeah, but the only way that could ever be conceived of as ethical is if you are the last two fucking people in the world. And I have a feeling if you were the last two people in the world, you probably wouldn't have to rape.
All right. So I never said voluntarism isn't preferable to aggression, but in extreme circumstances. Look, given the number of the population on the planet Earth of humans, it is not conceivable. It is simply not conceivable that your action would be in any way a benefit to the propagation of the species of any sort. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you're blessed with some sort of genetic marker that makes you immune from some sort of disease that has plagued the entire planet, and the entire species of human beings is going to die. But you're the only person who has this frickin' marker, and you're not going to die. And neither will a woman who has a symbiotic relationship with with a fetus, who is creating some sort of backwash with the
hormone.
Okay. In that particular case, my best guess is that you should start writing. You are not ever licensed to violate the rights of another person's body in the way that rape does. Period. And if that means the extinction of the fucking human race, so fucking be it. We will all die out, so damn what. There is a history that we have experienced in our own lifetimes of life being created from nothingness that creates intelligent life, the human. Suck it up.
I totally agree with you, and I don't want to take away from that awesome ending right there. But there's the flip side of that coin too. Commenter, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. If forwarding on your genetics is the primary ethical system, then what you're saying is it's completely unethical for me to take drugs or eat junk food or anything else that might impede my sexual function or my longevity or riding a motorcycle or anything that could prevent me from passing on my genes. So just curious how you might overcome that ethical dilemma there. You know, if I'm not harming another person, you just said yourself that the NAP is not excluded from genetic proliferation. I'm not violating the NAP at all if I do harm to myself, but apparently I'm violating your principles of genetic procreation on that. So just a little curious if you have any feedback on that. Robert, I don't have the video open. Are you still there?
I'm here. Yeah. All right, so we have another guest who has joined us, and Colin Sleuth asks, if you were going to die, and the only way to prevent it was to shoot an innocent child in the face, is it easy to say that the NAP shouldn't apply in this case? Wow. That's one of those it will never frickin' happen questions. Let's see.
I guess if the little kid is holding a gun at your head and your response is to shoot him before he shoots you, that's still not a violation of the NAP.
Right, no. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that, I don't know, somehow an airplane crashes as a result of some sort of nuclear event. You're pretty damn sure that the rest of the world has been destroyed, and the only two human beings are left is you and Judy and baby Smorgasbord. I don't know what the hell his name is. I don't know. Let's call him Tommy. All right. So Tommy is apparently got whooping cough. Spending a significant amount of time with Tommy exposes you to an increased risk of achieving whooping cough. You know that you and Judy are the last two human beings that are around, and if you don't provide for... Actually, you know what? He can't have whooping cough because that's an aggression potential. You know, screw that. He's just there, okay? But he's going to die if you don't feed him, and it turns out the only amount of food that you can provide for yourself is enough to feed you and Judy. Do not feed Tommy. No. Letting someone die is completely different than shooting them in the face. Okay? There is no situation that I could possibly conceive of where I'm going to shoot some kid in the face in order to prevent the death of the human race. I don't know, maybe an alien comes down and says, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and assassinate the entire population and so on. Well, then you make a choice, and it's based upon two different principles. And this is the weird thing about the non-aggression principle that I have a problem with, is that the non-aggression principle and morality both are conflations of two things: pragmatism and redress. And actually, the non-aggression principle is really only redress. It's a claim of redress. It is a claim that if you violate somebody else's rights, they have a claim against you. And what the punishment for that claim is entirely determined upon a complex system of variables. Basically, it's if you acted in a way that they didn't approve of, and then you come back to them and you say, hey, can I get your retroactive consent? Then it's fine. We can create retroactive consent. I mean, I can steal your shit, and then later on I can say to you, hey, you know what, I'm sorry I stole your shit, let me just go ahead and give you 5 times the value, will you consider it all good? And they'll say yes, no problem. But in the case of murder, it's impossible for that person to provide consent. It's impossible for that person to provide redress. But then you have to have a person who has a claim upon the redress, a person who has agency. In the case of, let's say, abortion, for example, I may not approve of Judy Smith over there who has an abortion, but I have no agency to prevent it. It's not my child. It's not my biological material that has created a new human being. She had some relationship with some other guy, so I can't interfere there. So I have no agency there. She's not threatening to commit any murder against me. She's not a continuing threat by having an abortion. So I don't think that I have agency when it comes to these types of questions. I mean, if there is a person that I can, I don't know. I'm going a little bit off on tangent here, but bottom line is, if we're presented with the stupid rail card situation where you got a rail car that's going to hit 6 people, or it's going to hit 1 person, and if you hit the switch, it'll only hit 1 person, and it won't kill the 6 people. Do you hit the switch? If I do, I fully expect that the person's heirs that I killed will sue the crap out of me, and I will go to jail, or I will suffer some punishment, and so on. I have an obligation of redress. It might be pragmatically realistic to do it, but it is not without a right of redress from the victim. So yeah, maybe I might have to I might have to shoot the kid in the frickin' head for some stupid arbitrary constraint that you're going to create that's just so dumb that will never exist. But yeah, okay, I'll shoot him in the head. Fine. And then I'll be thrown into a pyre of burning fire to punish me for having done the wrong thing, even though I ended up saving everybody else's life on the planet. Okay, fine. I will die. Everyone else live. Move on.
Yeah, I wonder if I'm trying to figure out if this was just a troller who thinks he's funny, or if it's a serious question because it's so outlandish. Robert, I would like to ask you just to clarify, to make sure that there's no inconsistency that could be pounced upon by somebody else. You just pointed out a situation where a lady's having an abortion, and you have no agency in the matter.
Yeah.
Could you square that with your other analogy of a family who's being extremely abusive, sexually molesting, and you step in to protect the child? How do you have agency in one situation and not in the other?
Oh, I don't. I use the pragmatism method, and then I accept the repercussions of the other. But the thing is that in the case of a person abusing their child, I can get implied or retroactive agency from the child. And so what will happen is, let's say I break into somebody's home, I steal their kid away from them, I save them from a life of torture, from parents that for some reason were religious nuts that believed in using a cat of nine tails on their backs, and were having this 6-year-old person whip themselves with this whip. Okay, so I go in, I break in, I take the kid, and I exercise them to some location that's unknown to the parents, and I come forth before the court, and they sentence me to whatever the penalty is. Then 8 years later, the child has demonstrated a self-awareness. They have demonstrated an ability of cognition that is required for self-ownership, and they say, I'm going to sue the crap out of my parents, and one of the things I'm suing for is Robert's release and exoneration for his saving me from your abusive ways. At that point, I am compensated for my losses in my incarceration and so on. I guess that's the best. I don't know. This is a best guess scenario, and realistically, we're dealing with the idea of spontaneous order, and I can't predict all the things that will go into all of that. We know for a fact that there is no person on Earth prior to the creation of the industrial agricultural system who had a clue that it was going to come out the way it is. We had some ideas that maybe there would be some sort of machine that would separate cotton from the seeds and so on, and then Whitney copied some guy who actually invented the process. Okay. We didn't know that was going to happen. I don't know what the system of justice is going to be, but I do know that if I see a person that I believe is suffering at the hands of an aggressor, that I will act, and maybe my actions will require me to do things that are initiation of force against people who are not violating some rule or whatever. I don't know. But I do know that by creating a society in which these questions can be answered in a competitive environment, we achieve an answer that is more representative of morality than an assumptive one-size-fits-all solution called government, where we assign power to 1 or 50 or 250 guys to say, well, this is the way it's going to work. And in our culture, I guess it would actually be 9 because of the Supreme Court. But let's see what they say. If you don't have any genetic links to the world, yes, you should shoot the kid. Of course, same concept. Why would anyone else look at that as acceptable? Okay, why would anyone say that that was acceptable? Desperation would probably make you change your mind instead of sitting eating a burrito in front of your computer. Okay. I'll make it harder for you guys. You and your kid stranded on a desert island. No water source other than the bottle of water that a stranger has. And he won't share. You faced imminent death without water. Is it okay for you to steal his water and give it to your child? Well,
again, is it okay and do you expect repercussions are two different things. I mean,
is it pragmatic?
It's pragmatic, of course.
Is it without an assumption of wrong, that you did somebody wrong and you have a debt that is owed?
Right. It's not free from that set of ethics.
So the thing that I want to make clear to you, Brian, is that the non-aggression principle is not a principle that says you cannot initiate violence against another person. There are going to be plenty of situations where people will justify the use of violence, the initiation of violence against another person. It is a question of whether there is the right to defend oneself against it, which isn't actually defense if it's not aggression. I mean, if you automatically have the right to prevent or use violence to prevent such an act. Any use of aggression against you automatically presupposes the use of violence to prevent it. So whoever wins, wins. It's an automatic justification for the defender, though, and it explains away any claim of loss that the defender would have to pay against the aggressor. So if you come at me and you're trying to take my child's bottle of water in order to make sure that you don't die of thirst, yeah, I'm going to freaking stop you and I'm going to put a bullet in your leg or whatever, and then you can't sue me about the fact that I mean, you could sue me, but nobody's going to believe that I owe you anything when I say, I was stopping him from taking my kid's only source of survival. Similarly, it also addresses that you have a claim of loss and you can sue for damages. And so if you successfully take my child's bottle of water, cause him to die in the process, and we both escape off this desert island, then I'm going to be able to sue you and your estate for whatever it is, and it will it will be a predisposition that, yeah, even though you're in extenuating circumstances, you fucked me over and you owe me. You're going to have to pay for a surrogate mother for me to impregnate, and I'm going to give a new child. I don't know. Whatever the situation of justice is. Maybe you're going to have to pay for the genetic material of my child's body to be sampled and create a clone. I don't know. Future's crazy like that. Maybe you're just going to have to give me a bunch of money. Whatever it is, if you don't get retroactive consent, if you don't get me to agree to the deal that you put me into, I have a claim that's legitimate. It legitimizes claims of wrongdoing. That's all the NAP does. It does not say you can't do X. It legitimizes claims of wrongdoing. So, I mean, if there's a stranger who has a bottle of water, your kid's going to die of thirst, do you take the bottle from the stranger? Let's say the stranger is somebody that you have no information about. This person could have been the Madame Curie of the world. He could, it might be a child rapist. We don't know. Do you take the bottle? Obviously, yes. Don't you?
Sure. But that's not a form of hypocrisy. I mean, you understand you're violating that principle toward that man. I mean, you're choosing your values.
You're fully acknowledging that you have a debt.
Exactly.
That debt might be your death. So be it. Okay. Guy's dead, baby's alive, I'm dead. Problem solved. I don't know.
Any other comments?
I think that was the last of them. Let's just
I think it's funny how everybody's always trying to get a gotcha on the NAP.
I really do want to make it very clear. The NAP is not a rule that you can't break.
Right. It's not a law of nature.
It's not the law of gravity, buddy. It is a system by which you determine whether somebody has a debt or can have violence used against them to absolve that debt, or has the approval of violence to prevent the action from occurring. So, yeah, it pre-approves the use of violence to prevent it from happening.
Exactly.
Well, looks like we have reached the end of Brian's question. Oh, it's aggression! Okay.
So?
He's perfectly within his rights to stop my aggression. And if he stops me and kills me cold, okay. If he doesn't, okay. And then his heirs can come at me and say, you aggressed against my uncle. Okay. You're right. Kill me now. Maybe not kill me now, but maybe I'll offer you whatever agreement that we can come up with, we can make arrangements for, but it's not a principle that says you can't do X. It's a principle that says you will expect repercussions or interference if you do X.
If you violate it. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a starting place for justice. It's
yeah, and there was one other point that I wanted to bring up. I've had people say to me that, well, if you end the state, that doesn't solve all the problems that we would have in the world, blah, 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 blah. And one thing I need people to understand as an anarchist, the ending of the state is a necessary but not sufficient means to achieving a free and prosperous society where only aberrations of weird, crazy, fluke, whack jobbery like Brian will bring up will happen. You have to have a variety of other things that will benefit the society, that will prevent these bad things from happening. Number one, you have to have an understanding that the aggression principle is wrong. The non-aggression principle is true. Okay? There's one. Property rights, specifically ownership of, not necessarily ownership, because a lot of people have a problem with that, and it's just a bad word. Sorry. We used the wrong word. Self-determinationship. Self-determinationship is a given. You are born with the ability to determine your own self and your actions. No one else can control your arm without your permission. If somebody inserts a chip into your body and then takes control of your body and can control your arm, they are violating your ownership. Although we don't like to call it ownership because theoretically you could sell it. Okay, fine. Determining, whatever. Determining.
That's BS. I could sell my kidney if I wanted to.
No, I'm talking about your you. You can't sell you. I mean,
But I do if I. Yeah, you kind of do. I mean, people sell themselves to labor or whatever.
no.
It's like renting yourself out.
The thing is that you can't sell your ability to decide.
Right. You can't abstain from your sentience. I get what you're saying.
Okay. Being a person who determines a course of action, whether it means that your body responds or not, is irrelevant. Being a decider cannot be sold. You either, if you cease to be a decider, you cease to exist. Human beings are deciding beings. People decide stuff. And once you no longer have the ability to decide stuff, you're either in a coma or you're not a person. All right, so then again he says, he laughs and says, see, just like I said, he doesn't say, see, just like I said. He didn't say just, I told you so. He doesn't say that, but he laughs and says, it's not a principle. It's a rule of thumb, not a principle. No. It's a principle.
Can he define a principle?
Okay, but I'll define the principle. It's a principle for deciding whether or not the use of violence was authorized ahead of time, or the use of violence is authorized afterwards for redress. So the use of violence in defense against the aggression, the NAP, that's what it is. It's a declarative statement. It is that the use of violence to defend oneself against aggression is authorized. And it also has a subsequent point that says, if someone has successfully aggressed upon you, or even threatened aggression upon you, you have a right of redress. You can use violence in order to demand compensation for your being wronged. It was wrong for the person to initiate violence against you. You are getting a redress from that wrong. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction in physics. Well, every initiation of violence has an equal and opposite defense of violence, whether it be during the event or post-event. And let's see here. In a free society, how would you guys suggest dealing with anti-freedom groups? Pretty much angry, rich, armed status guys. All right. Well, let's just assume that we got Bill Gates. He's got his whatever millions of dollars, and we all have completely stopped using U.S. dollars, and he doesn't have Bitcoin, so he's completely worthless. Oh wait, never mind. Now, realistically, let's just assume that we've got some guy who has an immense amount of property that is generating a lot of income for him. He's got people who are guards that work for him, people who are on his payroll. He's making a lot of bank because he's providing a product or service that people like. He's already banked up a bunch of money, and he decides that he's going to go on the warpath. He's going to hire a bunch of mercenaries, and he's going to tell them all to go out there and make you guys agree with him that he should be the ruler of your town. What do you do?
Well, first of all, when you're not already a tax slave, there's a lot less incentive to go and attack a whole bunch of individual people. I mean, you're basically,
Why not?
well, unless you're some psychopath who just enjoys the process of killing people or violence.
I've owned a plantation for years, and I know that if I can get people that are out here and working their asses off day after day, they'll provide me with a clear supply of peaches, and all I have to do is just go into this town and kill a bunch of people and take all the people who are left over who weren't able to fight, but they can pick peaches. So, I mean, what's to stop me from just going in there and just massacring a bunch of people and taking all these other people and bringing them over? You know, I've already killed all the news people, so there's no risk of having any sort of reporting of this event going on. I'm not really worried about having, you know, my reputation damaged because I'm really good at what I do as far as like keeping that stuff on the hush hush. I've got big walls, so I mean, why don't I just go out there and you know, gather myself a bunch of slaves?
Well, I just think that the economic incentives aren't going to be there. I mean, still, the cost of enslaving people who are already free, that's an enormous multi-generational task for most situations. I don't think that anybody in a free society is ever going to become powerful enough to be some one dude who has the resources to go in and take over an entire region, even a town.
Well, why wouldn't they? I mean, if I've become incredibly successful using, I don't know, let's say I'm using robots to pick my fruit.
Because there will be other incredibly successful people who do not want that, who don't want a state.
So you're saying that in a competitive market that my ability to gather excess wealth that is on par with the level necessary to abuse people in this fashion is not conceivable?
Extremely unlikely.
Okay.
The market is always going to produce competition. It is never going to allow for a monopoly. If we ever achieve the free society to begin with, all we have to do is break that paradigm of people thinking that the government has this authority.
So you got an unstable person. I don't know. Let's say you got a guy who's really good at his job. He's been able to create huge windfalls of wealth. He's invented all sorts of cool stuff. Because of some brain tumor in his head, he's actually thinking outside of the paradigm of normal things. And then the tumor goes nuts, and they bring him to the lab job, and now he's to basically create a slave compound. What the hell? Look, unstable people will do unstable shit. Yeah, suck. I would not want to pile upon that the ability for him to come into power and wield nuclear weapons and destroy the planet. Or to declare war upon the rest of the world's population with an army that's 5 times as big as our next closest competitor. It's just, look, yeah, Crap happens. Whack jobs freak out. The worst thing you want to do is create a government for them to take power in. Hitler, anybody?
I'm trying to figure out why this hypothetical scenario could ever even happen. There's no real rational circumstance that it could possibly happen in if everyone is already free.
Well, I mean, if you got a group of pacifists, maybe you could go ahead and subjugate them. Maybe. But I mean, to me, it's a ludicrous argument. Either A, it's going to happen in society with government, or B, it's going to happen with society that's without government. In the case of A, you're going to have a Holocaust, and in circumstance B, you're going to have, okay, maybe an entire town is frickin' confiscated by a group of employees of a whack job, and they die. Okay, sorry. It's not utopia. We're not talking about utopia. We're not going to achieve utopia. It doesn't work. There's no such thing as utopia. So stop putting hurdles for anarcho-capitalism to jump that government has proven it can't.
Right. There's always going to be aberrations. And there's always going to be, we're going to have the defensive use of force, too. I don't know why this guy thinks that one guy is going to be powerful enough to take over large groups of people. Maybe, like you say, maybe a town, maybe a small religious group of pacifists or something. But,
sure.
Yeah, like you say, I mean, there's no guarantees in this life. But you know what? It's already worse than that now.
And realistically, we don't even need guns to illustrate this example. We have examples that actually exist in society now. Okay? There was this asshole. He was a con man. His name was Bernie Madoff. And he frickin' suckered a lot of people into paying money into a system that was based upon a Ponzi scheme, and they bought into it and they lost their asses. Okay, sucks. Alright, then there's this other idiot who happened to be a president of the United States of America, and he conned this entire generation of people, and their generation, and their generation, and their generation, and their generation upon generation upon generation of stupid people who bought into this guy's fucking Ponzi scheme and are forced at the point of a gun to pay for it, and it will collapse in the same way that the Bernie Madoff scheme happened. It's called Social Security, and it's absolutely stupid.
Yeah, you know what? I'd like to answer this guy's question directly. What if? Well, here's my answer. We'd kill him.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Boom.
Bullet in the head. Congratulations, problem solved.
I mean, what's so complicated about that? I don't understand.
Yeah, you put a bullet in his head. There you go. I hired the...
He asked how we would take care of it, so I guess that's my answer.
Yeah, that's a bullet in the head. Problem solved. Move on. All right, well, thank you, Cody, for keeping up with me as I stayed into the wee hours of the night. Thank you, Brian, for posing some of these troll questions. My guess is that you were just kind of stirring the pot. And CG2End, thanks for joining us. And thank you, if you are watching this at a later time, for joining us on Voluntary Virtues After Hours. Again, Voluntary Virtues Network is a new network that is just getting started. Voluntary Virtues is the flagship show. I'm just following up with random stuff just to see where our minds take us, but it's just for fun. So if you're out here wanting to have a good time and want to play around with thoughts and questions that you just won't see answered in the mainstream of the anarchist movement, which is completely free, then come on board and ask the questions. This is the Krug. Welcome to Voluntary Virtues After Hours.